Tonight is Stanley Kinyanjui. So the government has launched a disaster fund to help mitigate the impact of the flooding occasioned by the heavy rains in the country. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says that the fund will help the national and county government address urgent needs of nearly 300,000 people affected by the flooding. The DP's announcement came as development partners began donating towards the floods disaster fund, and the president pledged to resettle those relocated from riparian areas through temporary housing and eventually through the affordable housing projects. Brenda Wanga has more.
The devastation caused by the heavy rains and flooding across most parts of the country have led the national government to seek help both locally and internationally to help those whose lives have been upended by this disaster.
Even with extensive government-led programs at both national and county level, we appreciate the need to receive and coordinate additional support for greater effectiveness. In this regard, we are calling on our development partners, the private sector, non-state actors, and individual well-wishers to contribute in cash and in kind.
The activation of the disaster fund will provide a structured manner in which Kenya and her development partners and friends can lend a hand in her time of need, brought about by acts of nature. Already, development partners have begun responding to this call of action.
And actually I'm happy to say that even today that number on this slide has grown a little bit more. We've been able to mobilize about $7 million US. That's about 900 million shillings, I think, in today's money.
Development partners have been asked to channel their cash donations through the National Treasury, while the private sectors and Kenyans willing to donate will do so through the National Disaster Emergency Response Appeal Fund. Other in-kind donations are to be delivered to the National Disaster Operations Center at Nyayo House. The KDF, NYS and Red Cross will warehouse the donations for distribution to the affected people.
I wish to call upon...
The national government, on the other hand, says it had already allocated some 3.5 billion shillings in the budget for emergencies, with the arid and semi-arid areas getting the lion's share of this amount of 2 billion shillings, while the Ministry of Roads got $500 million shillings and the Interior Ministry was allocated 300 million shillings. This amount is insufficient, hence the need for more help. But beyond the call for fundraising to mitigate the disaster, the government maintains the need to be more proactive in future by mapping the areas likely to be impacted by such disasters and preparing adequately.
So I'm very grateful. The culture of taking security alerts, weather alerts, public safety alerts seriously is very important. We are just left with just within the estates and the villages where people are still crossing rivers when they should not be doing so. And again, that is sensitization that we continue.
When the government seeks for that additional support, the president, who paid a visit to one of the urban theatres of the floods in Mathare, was categorical that there will be no resettlement on the riparian land that is now being reclaimed. President Ruto insisting that the government will take care of the housing needs of over 40,000 people evacuated from such homes.
Wale wote households 40,000 hapa Nairobi ambayo wamehamishwa kwa sababu ya safety yao. Kila boma serikali tutawapatia shilingi 10,000 ya kutafuta makao mahali mtakaa mkingojea mpango ya serikali.
Ruto says the process of rehousing the affected begins this week for the construction of 20,000 affordable housing units. He says these houses will be allocated to those moved from the riparian areas as a first priority. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.